Welcome to Professionals and Coffee, a volunteer collective of Brewing networking opportunities. I'm Carolina Salinas, founder and host of this initiative. In this episode, Professionals and Coffee, we will talk about various aspects of communication, public relations, and leadership in the microfinance sector, including strategies, lessons learned, technological advancements, crisis management, career advice, and outlook with Kabeer Naqvi, who currently holds the prestigious position of chairman at the Pakistan Microfinance Network and has previously served as a president of U Microfinance Bank. Welcome to Professionals and Coffee.
Thank you very much, Carolina, for having me here.
Yes, greetings. I'm Fatma Omar Khan, a communications specialist with 7 years of experience. It's a privilege for me to have this opportunity to host my mentor, my former boss, Kabeer Naqvi. Thank you for coming. And let's get started with the questions then. So my first question is going to be, can you share some insights into your journey in the microfinance sector from establishing the bank to being currently the chairman of Pakistan Microfinance Network, please?
Thank you, Fatma. Thank you for having me over. It's a loaded question, so I'll try to stay concise. So the journey is fairly long. I got into the microfinance sector back in 2006. I was part of the founding team of Tamir Microfinance Bank, stayed there for about 9 years, left as the CFO and chief of staff to take over UBank in 2015. The UBank journey for the last 8 years has been phenomenal. It was a struggling small microfinance bank when I joined, with 300 people, with a loan book of just 600 million rupees and a billion rupees of deposits. So you can imagine it was very, very small.
Wow.
It had been in existence for about 3 years. 8 years down, we grew our loan book, just to give you perspective and of scale that we achieved. The loan book grew from 600 million to 75 billion organically. And the deposits grew from a billion to 110 billion. And the overall balance sheet size grew from 2 billion to 221 billion precisely in less than 8 years. So that gives you an idea of the kind of scale that you can achieve. And I think all the credit to the teams, obviously the shareholders and the board, and the overall strategies that we deployed. So it's been a very fantastic journey for me. So I have great memories of my time with UBank as well as Tamir Bank. And then you asked about chairing the network. So I got elected as the chairman of the Pakistan Microfinance Network last year in June. And a bit about the network. The network has about 46 institutions. That includes microfinance banks as well as microfinance institutions. Those are non-banks. And some of them are NGOs also. So we represent about, in terms of clientele, about 9 million clients that we serve as a sector currently and growing, and a loan book of about 500 billion. So although the numbers are good, but in relative terms to the regional numbers in India, Bangladesh, and closer by countries, we are still not there. So there is a lot of work that needs to be done, and I'm hopeful that I will be able to play my role in the network to increase the outreach also.
Thank you so much. So my next question is I would like to add some comments, but then it's going to get longer. So I'm just going to dive into the next question. So communications and public relations play a crucial role in shaping the image and reputation of financial institutions. How do you approach PR and communication strategies?
Well, that's a key question. I think that holds true for all sorts of setups. And particularly in the microfinance sector, I'll tell you, the sector serves perhaps the most vulnerable part of the society. So we give loans to people who do not have bank statements, who do not have proper documentation of their small businesses. We use income proxies, and we reach out to the most vulnerable, I would say. So in this kind of business, obviously your clientele is very different. In terms of, urbanites, for instance, Carolina, you, Fatma, or myself, reaching out to us, a company could use different means, social media, regular media, print media, all of that. But for our particular clients, to reach out to them and to cater to their needs, we have to deploy many different strategies. Now, that is on the loan side. And that man-to-man interaction, sorry, I don't want to be using genders here. I meant, human-to-human interaction. That is most important in terms of getting those clients into the net. As far as the deposit side is concerned, a microfinance bank is just like a commercial bank. And people like you and me open accounts, and we open checking accounts, saving accounts, and do term deposits also. So for that, I'll use my UBank journey. When I was heading UBank, it was a very small bank, as I told you, with not much brand. So PR and communication played a key role to get us up there on the map. So what we tried doing, even when we were smaller, we wanted to be visible. So we celebrated even the smallest of achievements. We used social media. I'll tell you, every billion rupee that we added to the loan book with a lot of hard work by the teams, we would celebrate it, cut a cake, get everybody together, put it on social media. And slowly, gradually, when we started making more money, we went into print media also and mainstream media eventually. So, and we started sharing our journey, our heartbreaks as well. So I believe without proper PR and communication in the right people, with the right people, I would say, the policymakers have to be roped in, the regulators have to be roped in, not just your clients. So it had to be a 360 approach that we did, and then magic happened.
Thank you so much. And when you speak, magic happens, and then I forgot the third question. So let me look at my paper now. So the third question comes along. In your experience, what role does transparent and proactive communication play in building trust, credibility with customers, investors, and regulatory bodies in the financial sector? You did touch upon it earlier, but if you could elaborate a bit more, please.
I'll again share an anecdote here, because transparency is key, in communication. If you people do not trust you, your stakeholders do not trust you, if you're unable to build credibility, then you can hardly achieve anything. So the anecdote I wanted to share with you is when I took over the bank was in a very bad shape. And we had sort of going concern issues as well. So people usually don't share it with the employees. And it was my day 3. I gathered everyone and I did something that many would not do. I told them very transparently that the bank may go towards foreclosure because of the lack of profits, and our inability to grow it so far. So I need 1 year of your life. Don't ask me for bonuses. Don't ask me for raises. But let's just give 1 year to this institution, and the rest will manage on its own. And then obviously with that trust, with that clear communication, where I told everybody that this is where we stand, we started this journey and achieved what I just shared with you. So the reason why I'm sharing this anecdote is that the people over there expected me to say good things, that now that I'm here, everything is going to be fine. We're going to be making lots of money. I didn't do that. We wanted to achieve all of that, but I actually told them the exact truth to motivate them with reality and transparency. So in my personal experience, that has been one of the key ingredients in my journey also.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Carolina.
Okay, thank you, Fatima. My question for you, Mr. Kabeer, with the rapid advancements in technology and digital media, how do you see the landscape of PR and communications involving in the microfinance sector, and what strategies do you think will be most effective in the future?
Right. Thank you, Carolina. I think this is a very pertinent question. We live in a different world now. So if you go 10 years back, 15 years back, social media was still there, but reliance on mainstream media, at least in this part of the world, was key. But as times evolved and we are now in the digital age, as they say, so with advancement of technology, I think the railroads have been established. I think there are lots of mediums that are cheaper for any sort of company to use. And you just need to focus on the right client base. You need to focus on the right network that you're targeting. I believe that, again, I'll give you an example from my past life or my present life. So in the network, from the present life, let's put it this way. In the network, there are 46 institutions. So from the strongest to the weakest, from the largest to the smallest, all have different sorts of resources. They're working with different kind of clients. So if I pick up a cross section of this whole pie, you will see the most vulnerable ones who could not afford to have visibility in the past Now, I don't want to take names of social media platforms for obvious reasons, but they can go to any social media platform and market their business. They just need to have the right strategy, and they are getting traction. So I believe that we need to, as institutions, leverage on these railroads and achieve, what we're willing to achieve without spending much. And I'm bringing the cost element in deliberately here because it has become rather easier to have visibility than it used to be in the past. And I think it's going to start getting better. But one danger I would want to point out here is that there is not much filter on what you see on social media, right? So even on social media, to build credibility, the content that you're sharing, the frequency with which you're sharing, the people that you're targeting, that has to be well thought out. Otherwise, it could be a futile effort.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. Um, as a leader in the industry, what advice would you give to emerging professionals looking to pursue a career in PR and communications within the microfinance network?
Yeah. So to younger professionals, and Fatma will vouch for it. Even in the previous role, I used to look for opportunities to talk to everyone because I thought, your face-to-face discussion or sharing of information is very, very powerful. So people, particularly who are willing to make a career in PR and communications, obviously they have to be, first of all, good in communication. That goes, that has to be the case. But you just don't get good in communication just like that by reading a book. So I would advise that they need to have field exposure. By field exposure, I mean real exposure. So you've done your degree, you've done your qualification, and you're gaining experience, but you have to be out there making yourself vulnerable, because it's not an easy job. Carolina, you do it. Fatma, you're doing it as well. You need to be up on stage. There is public speaking fright. There is stage fright. There is an issue of articulating or spelling the message, spelling it out. I'll give you my own personal example. I became CEO. I was CFO in my past life. I did not have much public interaction. And as I
The
started talking to people,
youngest CEO and CFO as well. Let's add that to it.
thank you, Fatma. You're very kind. So the thing is that when I was leading an organization of 5,000 people, so I could not communicate or not be able to communicate. So people who are willing to pursue a career in PR and communications, they have to, as they used to say, our math teacher used to say, you need to practice, practice, and practice. So you need to be out there, you need to get the exposure, and certain times you embarrass yourself. Things will go wrong at times. And I think that's fine. So the fear of failure, I think that is one thing you need to save yourself from. The rest, I think, is good. So that would be my advice to young professionals.
Thank you. Amazing advice. And what initiatives or projects are you currently involved in that focus on enhancing communication and public relation practices within the microfinance network, both locally and internationally, if you would like to share with us?
Right. Thank you, Carolina. So in the network, our basic job is advocacy. So unlike a job of a CEO of a bank or another financial institution or any sort of company where you're focused on enhancing your business revenues, profits, and maximization of wealth, which is great if you're a for-profit, or increasing your outreach. My particular role right now is to represent 46 institutions with 2 regulators and government bodies. The issues that they have, the evolution and regulation that they need, in order to reach out to maximum number of people. That's the job. So the key is proper communication, the right tools, the right focus, the right approach. So I think in the context of the Pakistan Microfinance Network, this question is even more pertinent than if I look at my previous life. So what we are doing currently is that, we are using the old school written communication, because when you're dealing with the regulators, you need to be very well articulated in terms of what you're asking for. At the same time, we are doing many partnerships. with training agencies, with donors, particularly for our NGOs. They're always starved for funding. You understand? They're doing some great work, but they're not banks. They can't raise deposits. So even with the greatest of missions, if you don't have funding, practically, you cannot achieve your vision or mission. So what we do, we talk to bilaterals, international agencies, and that's a different approach then. Obviously, we do roundtables, we do presentations, virtually at times we travel. So there's a host of things that we do, in terms of PR and communication. And that's, if you ask me in a nutshell, that's the job. In terms of projecting the sector, in terms of getting the funding, getting the exposure for these institutions also for the greater good, for increasing the outreach for the microfinance clients.
Wow, well, amazing. Yes, it sounds it's a lot of work. Amazing.
Oh, yes. Well, I was working with boss back in Pakistan. There was no sleep time for him. Like, he would be in the office at any and every time. And sometimes we'd be like, boss, you need to go and have some rest now, enough. So, yeah, a lot of work at work. Yes. Yeah.
All of us did, Fatma.
Couldn't be without your leadership. Leadership's very important. So, okay. So I'll come to the last question for this episode, and that is, looking ahead, what do you envision as the future role of PR and communications in advancing financial inclusion and sustainable development goals in Pakistan and beyond? Yeah.
Now, this is a very heavy loaded question and a very good one. So you see, what is our issue? So let me frame the problem statement here. You spoke about financial inclusion. So in the Pakistani context, and obviously that applies to other countries also. We are a country of about 250 million people, and 80% people are unbanked, or maybe slightly more, as they say. The bank accounts that we have are about 180 million. Out of those, 83 million bank accounts are unique, and the active accounts are even lesser. Now, having a bank account does not mean you're financially included, right? And where a country where the literacy rates are very low, you need to provide financial literacy to people as well in order to enable them to use financial services, even if you are there at their doorstep. They need to know at least what is the benefit, how will they use it. For instance, a bank account for acquiring credit or doing savings. So how do you reach out to tens and rather hundreds of millions of people? So because where I spoke about the microfinance credit clients, the total loans are 9 million in a country of 250 million, right? Where 65% people are less than the age of 34. We are sitting on a youth bulge, but the literacy rates are very low. So the training, the education, there is a lot of need there. So in order to achieve the goal of financial inclusion, if you do not have the proper railroads or a plan or focus to reach out to the masses of the country in terms of communication, of financial literacy or digital literacy for that matter, you will not be able to achieve that goal. Now, I will weave something else into it also. Social inclusion. We feel until people are socially included, they cannot be financially included. And this is where I'll bring in the issue of women. In our country, about 50% plus women, and bulk of them are not part of the workforce. They're not productive as far as the economy is concerned. So the biggest challenge that we have is to make half the population somehow productive, or a material part of it at least. So PR and communication, if you ask me, I think there is a lot more work that needs to be done. There are other mediums that have to be explored because the needs of people are different. In fact, there are so many dialects and languages. There are so many different social classes. In here, I'll again give an example. Like in certain parts of Pakistan, a woman is given a cell phone only for a few hours. That again, under the watch of some male member of the family. Now, these are real issues. We need to talk about these. You see, so everybody wants to include women, give them credit, empower them. But how do you reach out to them? Again, communication. Maybe communication with the family members that this is going to benefit them. So a lot of work needs to be done here, but I think it is at the PR and communication, I think that's at the heart of the objective of financial inclusion.
Thank you so
I
much.
hope I tried to respond the heavy loaded question with an appropriate response.
Absolutely, like always.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much, Kabeer Naqvi, for taking time out and talking about your journey. We are so glad to have had this opportunity to have interacted with you. And last but not least, thank you, Fatima Khan, for co-hosting this coffee chat with you, with Professionals and Coffee. You were amazing. Any social media that you would like to share, where can we find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. I think that's the most appropriate platform where I share bulk of the work that I do.
You can find me also on LinkedIn, and I would also like to take this opportunity to say it was an amazing episode. And thank you once again, boss, for joining, for taking out time, and for advising us like always and giving us such deep insights that particularly people these days don't talk about, don't reflect upon. So thank you so much.
Well, thank
Thank
you.
you, Fatma. Thank you, Karina.
Thank you so much, everyone. Everything we do here works because of you guys. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and join our social media networks. Click the link in the description below this video or podcast. And please join us to do your own virtual coffee chat as Fatima did today. I hope you enjoyed our discussion and learned a lot about communications and leadership. And thank you and bye-bye for now.